Welcome back. It is just after 9:30. In his daily address to the country, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced some tweaks to the wage subsidy program. They include more flexibility so more businesses should be eligible.
Companies will now have the option of using January and February of this year as reference points to show a 30% loss. And businesses will only need to show a 15% decline in revenue for March instead of 30%, because most of us only felt the impact of COVID-19 about halfway through the month.
And Trudeau also announced help is on the way for students looking for summer jobs.
We're making changes to the Canada Summer Jobs program this year. We will now give CSJ employers a subsidy of up to 100% to cover the costs of hiring students. We will also extend the time frame for job placement until the winter, because we know that some jobs will start later than usual. And because many businesses have had to scale back their operations, they will be able to hire students part-time.
And our Prime Minister was asked about his plan to eventually get Canadians back to work without sparking another outbreak.
It's going to be very, very important to do it in a measured, graduated way that allows for economic activity to begin while preventing severe spikes in COVID transmission. There is a lot of reflections ongoing on that, but as we know, the current measures will be in place for many more weeks, so we have time to get that right and to look what other countries that might be earlier in their phase do that is successful or less.
Air Canada is applying for the federal emergency wage subsidy program so it can rehire more than 16,000 workers that were laid off due to COVID-19. The airline says the program will let it retain or return affected employees to its payroll. Air Canada says its CEO and chief financial officer will not be paid in the second quarter. The other senior executives will give up as much as 50% of their salaries. Our provincial health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, is asking British Columbians to celebrate upcoming religious holidays virtually in order to protect public health. Let's go live to our Greg Harper now, who is in sea to sky country this morning. And Greg, a warning from the Squamish-Lillooet region.
That's right. Good morning, Mary. We're just off the Sea to Sky Highway here this morning. You know, it's getting tougher for a lot of British Columbians to stay at home. It's also getting tougher to do things outdoors. BC Parks immediately closing all provincial parks. That announcement was earlier this morning. Physical distancing continues to be an issue for lots of areas in our province, with people heading outdoors. The Sea to Sky region, no exception here. So communities in the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District are asking visitors to stay away this Easter weekend to help contain the spread of COVID-19. So this includes Squamish, Whistler, Pemberton, and Lillooet. A statement from the district says many people are still visiting the Sea to Sky region. This despite the call from our provincial health officer to avoid all non-essential travel to smaller communities. The district says it's seeing midsummer levels of visitors, with cars lined up in long stretches near trailheads, and an overall lack of social distancing in high traffic areas.
This is also a time, I know, when many people will be thinking of traveling and going to perhaps holiday homes or smaller communities around the province. And I really am imploring people, this is not our time to do that right now. We need to avoid all non-essential travel, and it's important that we don't go to communities where we might not have the resources to support us if we become sick or if there's a medical emergency. So now is the time to stay home, to stay connected with our family, to stay connected virtually.
And also remember, Stanley Park is now car-free. All vehicle traffic is banned throughout the Crown Jewel. So even though the weather's really nice right now, we need to keep our physical distance, need to keep practicing that, and stay at home if you can. Mary?
Okay, thank you so much, Greg. It is 9:35 now on BT, and as Greg mentioned, Stanley Park is now car-free starting today to encourage physical distancing. Physical barriers will be placed at key key access points of the park. Traffic signs on Georgia Street, English Bay, and the Stanley Park Causeway will alert drivers of the closure. The decision to close the park to vehicles is meant to reduce traffic and respect health and safety measures related to COVID-19. Vancouver Mayor Kennedy Stewart will have the city's next update on the pandemic later today. It's been an institution on Commercial Drive for nearly 22 years, and now Frederico's Supper Club is closing.
To my family, dear friends, staff, and customers of Frederico's Supper Club, it's with a heavy heart that I have to inform you that I've decided to close Frederico's Supper Club for good.
And Frederico says he couldn't get a break from his landlord during this health crisis. Throw in a huge rent increase and high property taxes, it has led to an impossible situation. He says they have 22 years of incredible memories. He thanks all of his staff, patrons, friends and family, and everyone who walked through those doors over the years. With many in self-isolation these days, home baking has exploded in popularity. But as David Zura has found, many stores are running low on basic ingredients.
Baking at home is a whole ton of fun. Don't overthink it.
A sudden increase in the number of people baking has got grocery stores cleaned out of the basics. Flour, sugar, and chocolate chips can be hard to come by, but now yeast has become increasingly scarce in just the past few days, as more people cooped up at home try their hand at whipping up baked goods.
All these shelves were full this morning when we opened at 9 o'clock.
Gordon Harskamp has run the Mundy Park Bakery with his wife for over 30 years. He says, don't fret, there are still lots of things you can make that don't require yeast.
Irish soda bread doesn't need yeast, and there's all sorts of recipes for it online. My son played with sourdough until he had a working culture at home. There's a couple of really off the edge kind of cookies that do have a little bit of yeast in them, but it's not products that you normally see.
He says while walk-in traffic is down about a third, sales per person are higher, and that comfort food has become especially popular. He also says while stores may be out of yeast, bakeries likely won't have the same problem.
We buy such large quantities that for us it's not going to be an issue. Though I have had a few emails from people that are trying to get me to sell them some.
On Instagram, I put the question to see if, in fact, more people were baking. And you sent me lots of your accomplishments, including carrot cake, key lime pie, fruit scones, zucchini bread, strawberry cake, and much, much more. Meanwhile, this tweet from Sudeep Agrawala, a biological engineer out of Boston, is getting lots of love. He details how we can make our own yeast at home using dried fruit, water, and flour in a jar.
What yeast do is they sit on the outside of the fruit and they love to eat sugar. And they just hang out there until the fruit cracks open and the yeast can get in there and eat that delicious sugar.
He says it also makes for a fun little family science experiment to keep the kids learning while they're out of the classroom. Now, I will actually hold on to mine over the next few days, and I'll update you on Twitter if I have any luck growing yeast here at home. In Burnaby, David Zura, City News.
All right, nice kitchen, David. It is 9:39 here on BT. A light moment at yesterday's provincial COVID-19 press conference. Dr. Bonnie Henry addressed something a little different about her, which you may have noticed recently. She jokingly said the #1 thing you should not do in a pandemic is your own hair.
And I will say, believe them. And my apologies to Lindsay, my hairdresser, but I did do some of my own tinkering with my hair in the last couple of days. So, yes, I did not go to the hairdressers, and hopefully it will settle down soon. But thank you, and remind you all to, this is a time for us to be kind and to be calm and to stay safe.
I thought her hair looked different. A warning to everyone, my hair is about to get really long, Ross.
Mary, I thought Bonnie's hair looked great.
Yeah, me too.
Did I miss something there?
It looked good, yeah. She dyed it sort of a darker brown, or a light brown.
Okay. Okay, well, she's not old enough to get this joke, but if she gets in trouble, Bonnie, I can loan you my Flowbee, because that's how I'm keeping it real tight out here in Surrey, right? In front of the bathroom mirror, and everything's a little crooked these days, but that's okay. I won't turn sideways or anything. Hey, let's update your weather report, shall we?